Hola YouTube, my name is Ricardo and I'm a wheel addict. Welcome to the How to Slide for Dummies. Before we go anywhere with this video, let me just tell you something that I'm very excited about, and that is this video is sponsored by Skillshare, which is actually a huge thing for me. If you guys watch any videos here on YouTube, which I believe you do, that's why you're watching this, I'm pretty sure you saw a lot of creators saying this video is sponsored by Skillshare. But what is Skillshare? Well, Skillshare is an online learning platform where you can learn basically almost everything. For me to do these videos, I've never ever studied video editing. I've never went to the school for marketing. But the truth is, all that I learn, all that I do here, other than the skating, I actually learn online. So Skillshare is one of those places where you can learn all these and a lot more. Now, here's what you're gonna do. On the top of the description of this video, there will be a 2-month subscription for free of Skillshare. You can basically learn everything, as I just said. One of the questions that I get the most asked is, it's now a good time to start a YouTube channel. Man, I always say the same. When it comes to being creative, the time is always now. Don't wait for tomorrow. Just express yourself. If you need the tools to express yourself, well, use the link in the description, get those tools, and get yourself out there, get yourself on this platform, and make your stuff grow. That is basically it. And that is it. Now, thank you Skillshare, and now let's go with this video. It's going to be divided in 7 parts. So these 7 parts will be the previous video, the different types of slide, the gear, the best gear to do it, the level of skill that you need, the progressions to get into sliding, how to do it, how to really do the slides, and obviously the last one, what's the most common mistake. Starting with part number 1, previous video, yes, I actually made another video on how to slide. It was one of the first videos on this channel, but it kind of felt that my level of skating has evolved when it comes to sliding, and I actually have a different approach when it comes to sliding, and that's why we're making this video. So if you watch the first video, how to parallel slide or how to slide here on this channel, you might learn a couple of new things on this one. Part number 2, yes, different types of slides. Sliding, it's not always the same, and today we're going to be talking about parallel slides, but even the parallel slides, they don't always mean that you want to do them for the same reason. You can do a parallel slide to stop, just like a hockey stop. You can also do it as a trick. Your body can be in different positions, but what I want you to actually understand is there's like the drifts and the slide to stop. The drift is something that will give you more control on the skates, but will not necessarily make you stop. Then the hockey stop, it's obviously just a slide to stop and will make you stop in a shorter period of time, which is very efficient, but not the safest for everyone. Okay? Now the drift, when you do a drift, usually you don't go completely perpendicular, you don't go 90 degrees. Imagine if I go in your direction, if I'm doing a drift, my feet don't go completely like that. It's kind of like they go in angle, and when I go in this angle, the wheels are sliding, but at the same time they're rolling. You might have seen this in a couple of different places. So it's important for us to understand there's the drift and there's the slide to stop. These are 2 very different ways of using the parallel slide. Now part number 3, gear. There's a lot of gear out there. This is the skates that I've been skating the most. These are the micro Delta F skates with the endless 90mm frames, and I'm using undercover 90mm. In the first video that I made, I actually said that I felt with 3 wheels was easier to get into sliding. Now, this is a different setup, and for several reasons. I have more wheels, the wheels are not all touching the floor, I have a little bit smaller wheels, and on the previous video I was using something more like this. This is the new micro bit. I love it, but it's different. Having a taller frame can have advantages of you are able to lean without the boot touching right away. On a lower boot, that doesn't happen the same way because it's easier that the boot touches. At the same time, having 3 points of contact will also make it easier to slide than if you have 4 wheels touching the ground. Think about it. You're going to be dragging the wheels, and all these wheels will be the points of traction that will allow you to slide. Less points of traction, less points of friction, easier to slide, but also harder to control. Now, the thing is, there are some frames like these and like others on the market, like the Wizard frame, the Endless frame. I know there's a new company now, the NN frame. And these, they have 4 wheels, but check this out. I press on the heel, I rotate the front. I press on the toe, I rotate the heel. So the advantages here are, I still don't slide on the 4 wheels. In fact, I end up sliding on 2 instead of 3, because these would be 3 flat, and these are 4 with a little rock ring, meaning that I only have 2 wheels on the ground at the same time. Now, if I was saying with 3 wheels, I don't have the same amount of control because it's very easy to slide out, with 2 wheels, that can also happen. The thing is, having a longer base, and you can see that this one is much longer than this, having a longer base also allows me to control more. When was the last time that you saw someone doing slides on skis with a very short ski? It is obviously possible, but you don't have the same amount of control. Obviously on skis there's other things that will influence, but not just that. So the length of the frame, the number of wheels, if the wheels are flat or rockered, that all is going to make you feel different. As an example, a 5-wheel frame, which I don't have one here, it's usually used for downhill. It's a long 5-wheel flat frame. That is the frame that is actually the hardest to get into sliding, because it's long and they're all flat. But once you're sliding, you can really lean back and trust those wheels, because you know there will be a lot of friction, but you can trust on those. And when you go in super high speed, you prefer to be able to lean back and knowing that they're going to slide without sliding out. Now, 3-4 years later, after starting to slide again with this type of skates, I actually think the easiest ones to slide are the little rocket frames. They don't need to have 3 wheels. They don't need to have 4 wheels. You can have 3-wheel frames with rockered setups. You can have 4-wheel rockered setups. But having 2 wheels at the short distance being the only point of contact in the ground, it's going to make it easier to slide, not always easier to control. Other things that are very important, having a supportive boot. If you have a very flimsy boot, like if you have a really cheap boot, I mean cheap not in price, but cheap in quality, it might be harder because it's called a parallel slide. The feet should be parallel. And if you have one foot like this and the other one like that, this is not parallel. Parallel is this, okay? So you want to be able to control your feet. It doesn't need to be a carbon skate like this one. Hard boot plastic will work, but you want something that it's stiff enough for you to be able to control your feet. Wheel-wise, well, wheel-wise there's a couple of different options, and a lot of people always think that the best is to have super hard wheels. It's not always true. Having super hard wheels, it's just like the length of the frame. Easier to start sliding with super hard wheels, but it's also going to be harder to control. In fact, I actually prefer to use wheels in between 83 and 85 for sliding. They might not last as long as the 88, but they will give me more control. For sliding, I like to feel the wheels a bit more grippy, if that makes sense. For some of you, it might not make sense, but feeling the wheels more grippy will give me more control. Other than that, yeah, being lower to the ground, having a lower frame to the ground will also give you more control. Yes, you know that it's easier for the boot to touch, but at the same time, with your foot being closer to the surface that it's rolling, you will have more control. So after what I said, just make your conclusions and try to find the setup that will work the best for you. Now, the surface is obviously also very important, not just the gear, but the surface where you're going to do it is also very important. If you're going to be doing it in a rough road, if there's a lot of holes, then might be a bit too hard. But if you're going to a tar road, I actually like it more because I can feel a little bit of grip coming from the floor, and that grip, just like the soft wheels, will give me control. If it's super slippery, well, then it's hard to control. But at the same time, I know there's some people out there, even on some people that are training for slide competitions, they wax the floor. So here, just like on wheels, there's different tastes. Maybe you can wax the floor as a way to start. It's not something that I really like. I prefer to carve into it. And as I said before, not having the smoothest ground, for me, it's actually cool. Having some rough, super rough ground is also not the best. So again, here you need to find like the balance, if you can say that. Also important, temperature. Usually if you're going to be doing it on the tar or a cement surface, the warmer it is, the easier it's going to be to slide. So if you're going downhill super fast and if it's super cold, you're going to feel that it's way more grippy than if it's like today, which is like close to 30 degrees. So today the roads are going to be quite slippery. Where I really find out about this was going for downhill, because in South Africa we used to go for downhill like 6 in the morning. It was barely day, it was still cold, and the roads were super grippy. You do a couple of runs, and when it's like 9, 10, the sun is shining like today, and then you feel like they slide out very easily. So have in mind that the temperature of the surface where you're sliding will also affect. Now, level of skating needed. Like, please keep in mind, if you're not able to turn with your feet parallel, don't even think about doing this. It's called a parallel slide, and there's a lot of people out there, which is perfectly normal. They're still learning how to skate, but when they turn left or when they turn right, they can't still carve with both feet parallel. I mean, if you turn left, your left foot should go a little bit in front when you start turning, and you should be able to go with your foot parallel. When you go right, you should be able to put your right foot in front a little bit, and they should be able to go parallel. This is a very important base to be able to slide. Once you learn how to do this, maybe having control on power slides would also be a good basic trick before you start jumping into slides. And no, you're not going to jump into slides, we're going to talk about it later. Progressions. Well, after what we just said, maybe the first progressions would be for you to control the basic skills that you need to have. If you're going to be sliding with your right shoulder in front, you want to learn how to turn left and carve properly. If you want to do it with the left shoulder in front, you're going to put the right foot in front and just learn how to carve this way. Now, the next progression would be one of the exercises that I told you to do on my last video, and that would be the swirl. You're going to roll forward and then you're going to try to swirl. You go here and then you start turning, and then the more you turn, the tighter you're going to go. Okay? By doing this, you're going to feel like you're losing speed, but at the same time, the tighter you go, the more you're going to start feeling your skates, they want to slide. Something that happens a lot of times is that you do the first turn and then you don't turn anymore. You go like here and then you turn and then you don't do it anymore. You will not feel the slide on your feet unless you start curling tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. So you don't need to do all these laps. Most of the times, all you do is this. Okay? This is an important progression, an important trick that you need to do for you to feel how your skates slide. Okay? Once you start doing this, you can actually start trying to feel both skates being parallel. If you're going to be with the right foot in front, like if you're going to turn left, you're going to want to feel the outside edge of your inner foot touching and the inside edge of your. You can practice that a bit. The more you bend your foot while you do this swirling like tighter and tighter, the more you bend your foot, the more they are going to slide. And this is actually the base for what we're going to do next. And now it's how to really slide. Let's first understand how the skates work. If you go really fast, and if you put your feet like this, like imagine if I come from here, but if I put my feet straight, I'm gonna fall straight into this side. So it's very important that I lean my feet. Now, the more you lean your feet, the more they're gonna slide, okay? Obviously, if you lean too much, the boot might touch, or you're gonna slide out. If you put them like this, you're gonna break, as we said before. So you can actually control. These will allow you to control. So if they're about to slide out, you can try to bring them a little bit on top, and this is what's going to make you control a slide. This is very, very important. Now, what's coming next is also, you don't always, once you really start sliding, you don't really slide like these most of the times. Most of the times, the most important thing is, if I want to do a slide in your direction, if I want to slide in this direction, if there's like a tiny road, I'm gonna try to go from here. And then once I get here, I'm gonna go and I slide to you. Like I do that first carve and I slide to you. Obviously, there's something that is very important before we slide, and that is, can you do this? It's as simple as this. When you do that turn, then you need to turn your hip to the side, but at the same time, keep both arms pointing to the direction that you want to go. So you go like here and you go. At the same time that you do these, you need to somehow become a little bit weightless. So you do this and you're a little bit weightless. Do not jump into this position. You need to become a little bit weightless, and as you know already, your feet need to bend. So if you do this and if you bend your feet, you should slowly start feeling that you are sliding. Now, please control that swirl before you do this, because otherwise it's just gonna feel like you're stopping, and that's not a good thing, huh? So you're gonna start swirling, you feel the slide, then when you do it, you wanna turn your hips, put both arms the same way, boop, and bend your feet. That is basically it, man. Now, with time, the longer you want to do your slides, as I said before, there's different types of slides. You can actually go like this and spin and start rolling backwards. That is something that happens a lot, especially when you start with the swirling thing. But the one that I like the most is actually when I do a slide and then I can keep going forward again. So when I do this type of slide, usually I spin my feet like, sometimes I would say like 45 degrees, sometimes a little bit more, but I never spin them too much, because if I spin them too much, I'm gonna end up turning backwards and start rolling backwards. That is basically it. Now let me show you a couple of examples. Now, to finish this, common mistakes, very common mistakes. Do not jump into a slide, at least when you're learning. A lot of people that are trying this, they come from aggressive skating background, or they just see other people sliding and they think it's very easy to go forward, jump, and then land like that. It is possible, but you need to have some experience with slides for you to be able to do it. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you jump, you land, you fall, because it's going to be sticky. It's a completely different type of friction. The way that the skates slide feels different. It's a urethane slide. It's not a plastic slide like you do it on the aggressive skate. It's not a shuffle. There's no plastic touching. It's just a urethane, just the wheels. So you need to learn how to get into it. That's the most important thing. So don't slide into it. Another very common mistake, it's not having your feet parallel. It's called a parallel slide, either to a stop or either just a drift. As I said before, it is a parallel slide. If you have your feet one like this and the other one like that, imagine your royal foot, your foot going on the outside edge, it bends enough to slide. But if the other one is like this, it's not going to slide. Also, if your inside edge foot goes in a good position, but then if the other one is not in a good position, it's not going to slide. You want them to be parallel. This is very important for you to be able to slide. Another common mistake that for some people work, but it doesn't really look that good, is, I told you before, when you turn left, you put the left foot in front. When you turn right, you put the right foot in front. But some people, they slide like that or they slide like that. It can be a trick, but always sliding like this, it doesn't look as good as sliding like this. Think parallel slide here and here. And I guess that's it. I hope you guys learned something today. And if you did, well, here's what you gotta do. You gotta subscribe to this channel. There's a bell on the side of it after subscribing. You're gonna press on that bell. You will get a notification every time I upload one of these videos. And if you like it, thumbs up. If you didn't like it, thumbs down. Let me know what you didn't like about this video. And before finishing, just a a final thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Now, to finish this video, just like I always do, just don't ever forget why we all started skating, and that it's because it's fun. Cheers, and let's go slide. Please, if you learn how to slide, please share with me. Just tag me on your Instagram sliding videos. I want to see that you guys are doing it. Cheers.